This is an image from an ancient Sanskrit text. It shows the energy centers of the body, the chakras. I know you all are familiar with chakras. They say that thought happens in the upper chakras, right here. This is thought. This is where we imagine the quantum possibility. The emotion happens in the creative center, in the lower chakras. This is emotion. And they say our emotions are only two: love and fear. Love and the opposite of love. So when we think a thought in our mind, we fuel that thought. We give our thought life through the love or the fear that we place into the thought. And when we do that, we create a feeling. And now we have a definition for feeling. Feeling is the union, the marriage of emotion and thought. What we think of a possibility and our love or our fear of that thought. Does that make sense? Is that good? This is important because we're going to use this. Does this make sense? Okay? What is the one energy center in the body that does not have the circle? What is the one center that we have not talked about here? Precisely, the heart. Feeling happens in our heart. Feeling doesn't happen in the mind. Feeling doesn't happen in the lower, well, a little bit, but not much in the lower centers. Feeling happens in our heart. Feeling and belief are connected. Feeling and belief. So in our hearts, we have hate, sadness, joy, compassion. These are feelings. These are not emotions. To have hate, sadness, joy, compassion, we must have a thought, and then the love or the fear for that thought that creates these feelings. So now we have a definition of feeling. Feeling is the union of thought and emotion. In the book, The Isaiah Effect, some of you have read who has read The Isaiah Effect? Anyone? Oh, thank you. Okay, so one of the questions that came up was, what book do we speak about the Essenes? The Isaiah Effect is one book where we speak about the ancient Essenes, E-S-S-E-N-E-S, the Essene traditions. It was in the book, The Isaiah Effect, that I have a chapter that is titled Meeting with the Abbot, A-B-B-O-T, the abbot of the monastery. And this is the abbot here that we met with, this man. Isn't he a beautiful man? It's this man I asked the question I asked so many times. Every monastery, every nunnery, every monk, every nun, every abbot. We were in 12 monasteries and 2 nunneries over 22 days. I asked the same question again and again and again, and this is the man that gave me the beautiful answer. And I asked the question, this is the question. I said, when we see your prayers on the outside, what are you doing on the inside? So when we see the chanting for 12 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours a day, when we see the mudras and hear the mantras and the bowls and the bells and the gongs and the chimes and the incense, when we see your prayers on the outside, I said, what are you doing inside? What is happening? When we see you create a miracle of healing, how did you do that? And this is the power of going into a living culture like Tibet. Because if we go into a temple in Egypt, or we go to a temple in the Yucatan of Mexico, we can find knowledge, and it's interesting. However, to some degree, we guess, we speculate what that knowledge means. Because we're reading an old text or a temple wall and we're guessing. But here we talk to another human We look him in the eyes, eye to eye, heart to heart, man to man, God to God. And I can ask this man the question, how did you do that miracle? What did you do in your body to make that happen? And I'll ask him again and again and again until I understand his answer. So this is what happened. So I asked the abbot, when we see your prayers on the outside, what's happening on the inside? And his answer was this. He said, you've never seen our prayers because a prayer cannot be seen. He said, what you see are the things that we do to create the feeling in our body. The feeling is the prayer. The feeling is the prayer. He's telling us right here. He's telling us in a Tibetan monastery 17,000 feet above sea level in the Himalayan mountains, this man is telling us the secret that was lost in our Christian and Jewish traditions when the edits were taken in from the books. And they practice and they live this. Feeling is the prayer. Then he turned the question around and asked me. He said, how do you do this in your culture? And this is what happened. When we lost the texts, when we lost the words in our biblical texts that tell us that feeling is the prayer, we began to believe that the words are the prayer. That if we say the right words, the right time of day, or the right number of times, that somehow magically a prayer will happen. And when our prayer is not answered, we become frustrated and we think prayer doesn't work. The words are not the prayers. The feeling is the prayer. You're going to see this 3 times this afternoon. The feeling is the prayer. So this is what the abbot shared with us. Now, after we met with this beautiful man, and by the way, this man passed away last year. He is no longer in this world. So I'm happy that we had the time with him while he was in this world. Okay, the word that they are using, wasa, loosely translated, means already happened. It's already done. In their mind and in their heart, they're coming from the place that the healing has already happened. Not that it's going to happen, and not that it's about to happen, or that it's a long, slow happening, that it has already happened. And this is important, because the field of energy that we are about to discuss is a mirror. A mirror, it reflects our feeling of what we are experiencing in the moment. So if our belief is that our healing is about to happen, or that our perfect relationship will come to us someday, or that our abundance in the bank will happen someday, the field will keep reflecting someday, 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 because it is open-ended. There is no outcome. There is no conclusion. This is a very subtle, very powerful understanding of how this field works. This field that we're about to discuss now, the divine matrix, is a field that mirrors now, not in the future, not in the past, this moment. So what we choose to experience in our lives, we must first feel in our hearts as if it has already happened. And I'm saying these words now, and you'll see this in the monasteries after lunch. And you'll see this in the application of the native and indigenous and aboriginal technologies. This is how they create rain. This is how they create healing. But it's only a miracle until we understand the science. Then it's no longer a miracle, it becomes a technology, a powerful internal technology. So this film was created in a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. Medicineless hospital. No medicine hospital. I like that hospital. This film shows a woman who has been diagnosed with a cancer in her bladder. A 3-inch diameter cancer in her bladder. And Western doctors say they can do nothing. They say, we can't help you. So she has gone to a clinic in China where they think differently, and they apply the technology from the ancient wisdom that is the same as the science that we just saw. So what you will see is this. There are 3 practitioners, 3 people trained to feel just the right feeling, the precise, correct feeling in their hearts. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. Now, we will look inside of her body through a sonogram, through ultrasound. We can look into her body and we can watch her cancer disappear in 3 minutes in the presence of the language that heals. Does that make sense? Are you okay with that? Does that make sense? Would you like to see that? Okay, good. So what you will see is the woman is awake, she is conscious, she has no anesthetic, she believes in the process, she believes in what is happening. And there are 3 practitioners who are trained to create the feeling in their bodies as if the woman is already healed. And then on the computer screen, we will see 2 images. One image is before the healing, and one image is actual time, real time, so we can see the healing happen. And while the healing is happening, you will hear the practitioners chant a word. And I want you to know there is no magic in the word. It could be any word. But this word is the word that they have chosen that reinforces for them, that tells them the feeling. So they agreed that this is the word that would create the feeling for them. But it could be any word. I want you to know that. So I'm explaining this now, and we'll explain it again as we go through the film.
Over 8 years, the center has successfully treated more than 180 types of illnesses, including bladder cancer.
看到了没有？就是在这个膀胱三角球的左侧有和一个压壶，这么一个。发气，各位老师，咱们一块用力量发气。
遥控听人哗哗哗三三哗三哗三哗三哗三哗三，小了。
对，看那个看得下去，学习放松。您就想着一下就彻底散掉。
你放松，老师在这儿
给我听听听。
小了，站住！好，没了，再站住！没了，好，没了，快站住！没了，好，没了，上，再站住，上，交出场，上，没了，把场打破，没了，好了，没了，好了，哎，不好意思，
能看出来，这是您。
几秒？
这个是能放下来。那个力度就那种看往前走，那个不像。
上来，走了，好，没了。
Compassion is this force. So the ancient instructions, how do we do this? The instructions are very precise. In the Buddhist traditions and what we're finding in Tibet, number one, they're saying that to create the healing, to create the peace, to create the miracles, first, we must feel as if the miracles have already happened without judgment, without ego. And that's hard for the Western mind. So first we must do this, to feel as if our prayers have already been answered without judgment, without ego.